Attention! And welcome to the Husker Army Podcast. With your hosts, Husker fanatic Brian Knudsen, former Husker wide receiver Kenny Cheatham, and Husker recruiting guru Matt Sass.
Here's Sims, bobbles a snap, loose ball, who's got it? And Colorado says they have it, and they do. Arden Walker with the fumble recovery. Another turnover for Jeff Sims.
And this one hit him in the hands. I don't think this is a bad snap. It's right there, and Sims tries to take his eyes up to the wide receivers too early, and Arden Walker fights for the ball.
No way that just happened.
All right, thank you very much. First down and 10 of the 29. Another fumble. Sims coughs it up again. Holy Chicago, Jeff Sims.
They're trying to time up this motion, and he continues to snap the ball right when the motion is passing him. I believe that took his eyes off the ball. It hits the ground, and how about Dominic picks it up with one hand, and now Colorado inside the 20. A couple of turnovers from this defense, and massive mistakes from Jeff Sims so far in this first half.
I can't believe this shit has happened to me tonight.
What's going on, everybody? Fall in if you want. Add attention if you want. I'm your host, Brian Knudsen. With me, as always, former Husker wide receiver, Mr. Kenny Cheatham, a.k.a. KC. And unfortunately, Mr. Troy Dumas couldn't join us today. He's delayed at the airport. Like Dan said, typical defensive guys that always late, man. But hey, we still got our other guest joining us today. Starting to become quite the regular on the show, aren't you, man? We got to welcome Mr. Dan Waldrop to the show, also enlisted to the Husker Army. How you doing, Dan? Great to have you back.
I can't get over that hair. That was all natural, by the way.
I'll tell you, finding that picture, I had to figure out how to use it.
Oh, yeah.
And I already had an enlisted graphic made for you. I was like, no, I'm using that picture. I've got to figure this out. So I did. There it is.
You've changed it a couple times, but that's my favorite.
I loved it, man. I couldn't wait to use. I couldn't wait to show it to you. I didn't want to leak it to you too early.
You know I'm down for anything. So let's go.
I know. All right, gentlemen. Well, we've got to talk about another loss. You know, Huskers drop it in Boulder, 14-36. It sucks. It really does. It's Colorado. I've never been very private about my feelings for Colorado. I've always publicly said the state could be wiped off the face of the map, and I wouldn't even blink. I mean, I'm sure many people saw my tweets all week long. You can't spell the C-bomb without CU. So I'm just saying oh, I hate this. Like, oh God, like I'm starting to get worked up again. I need to relax.
Yeah. Man.
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead. I know you want to say something, man.
I don't know about you, Kenny, but while I was there, that was more of a rivalry between us than us playing Oklahoma. So it was really big for us every year to, go and play against Colorado. So that was more the hate field was through that, the northern part of the Big 12. Oklahoma, we got every other year somewhere around there, but we play Colorado every year. So we always look forward to going to smacking them up.
Yeah, originally when I got there, it was Oklahoma, but Oklahoma was on the downside. They were mediocre, sub-mediocre at that time. And then it became Colorado. And then with the switch to the Big 12, one of the big things, one of the major, first time I've only seen Coach Osborne upset, was that we weren't going to play Oklahoma every year. And then they kind of switched Colorado to the game after Thanksgiving. That's when they became the game after Thanksgiving. So for a trillion years, it was Oklahoma. But after that, they became the game after Thanksgiving, and that's when that switch took place after that, the formulation of the Big 12.
I'm getting chills just thinking about that whole timeline. It's the day after Thanksgiving. It's a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
You're either up in Boulder and barely breathing, or you're down in Memorial Stadium and just fear on them. But they always played us close, no matter how bad they were in the season.
Yep.
It was just a dogfight. It was an absolute dogfight.
Yeah, it was.
It sucks, man. It really does. And I was my hatred is so deep that I've been a fan of Deion Sanders for a very long time, especially preteens, watching him in the NFL, watching him be a two-sport athlete. And as soon as he accepted that job, immediately written off. Until he jumped ship to go somewhere else, he's written off. I don't like the man. I don't like, and you know what? Here's like I said to you, Dan, right before we started recording, we were talking about, and we're going to talk about this, how you damn near went to Colorado when you were recruited. But you told me that, and I immediately told you that if that had happened, me and you never would have spoken ever. I wouldn't even probably know who you were.
You probably hated me.
That's exactly what I was getting at. You made a comment and it hit me so hard that it made me feel like you had committed to Colorado, and I raised my hand to flip you off, and I had to stop myself and realize that I'm overreacting right now.
Don't get it twisted. This N is on here for a reason. I've earned mine.
Yeah, that's right. You both have. Both gentlemen on here have. And I'm jealous. I'm always jealous of that. Always a dream when I was a kid, just not a reality. But by God, I can live vicariously through everybody else if I need to.
There it is.
The internet allows us to live through everybody. We all have our stories.
I know. I know. And so let's go ahead and talk about that real quick, Dan, before we have to talk about this crap ass outcome of a game. You said Neuheisel was quite the salesman.
He was really personable. You know, he's got that smile, really good car salesman. Like, you know, you're going to buy a car from this guy. And it worked well for him. He had a great personality. He recruited me first. He was the first one to come to my school and visit me. And so when you're a person, you know, from the hood, you know, you live in Compton and nothing in your life is big. Like, you're just like, I need to live for the next day. So Neuheisel shows up to school and I get called out of class. And then I am immediately attached to the man. He's like, I want you to take a recruiting trip. Not knowing that behind it, he's recruiting all the Samoans for one big recruiting trip. I'm talking about the biggest, the best. I don't know about the brightest, but the biggest and the best in the nation at that point in time. So he grabbed everybody from, you know, Hawaii, California, wherever you can get them, and then brought us on this recruiting trip. Took us through all the cool things that we wanted to see. And then he had a luau for all the players, and he fed us all the foods that we would normally eat. So he knew how to recruit us and how to get to our hearts and things like that. Because, you know, we like to eat. We're big boys. So and he just said, eat. You know, you don't, like I said, it's like you're limited on the food that you eat. And so he made it more of a family affair. It was it was ahead of his time type of recruiting. I don't know how well that works nowadays. Because people are super sensitive about these things. But once you figure out how Samoans eat and how we eat as a family, and he brought them all together, I didn't even think, now that I think back, like he literally recruited all the Samoans to come up there and enjoy this luau. What a crazy move. So that weekend I committed to him. And then something happened where he got fired from Colorado or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the national dead day where they can't recruit you, he comes to my house. And so for some reason I can't go there. And you know, long story short, I pick up my Nebraska letter of intent and I sign it, and the rest is history, you know.
Thank God. Thank God. Seriously. And come to find out, as we're talking before we start, Kenny, the same damn thing could have happened to you.
Yep.
You said your mom said you like them black uniforms, huh?
Yeah. So, like we were talking earlier, he was at UCLA. Remember, I think he was over the receivers. He had J.J. Stokes and Kevin Jordan and all those guys, and they were just coming off the Rose Bowl.
Yep.
They were the pride of the Pac-10 at that time was literally, I think, U of A and UCLA. USC wasn't USC in right then. Washington was the one in the middle. Oregon had made their ascension. And so, talking to him, I was hearing he was going back to Colorado. Him and Carl Durrell was at Arizona State. I think he was the OC at Arizona State at the time. Really loved Carl Durrell. And we were sitting there talking. He wasn't used to Mexican food. So he was like enamored with tacos, like authentic tacos. And he was sitting there and I was like, man, I can make authentic tacos. I'm an Arizona boy. So I said, fry my own shell. And he was like blown away. So I really like Carl Durrell. And I think at the time, Arizona State was supposed to get in trouble for something. And he was, Kenny, I might be going back to Colorado. So at two guys I really like going back to Colorado. And then my mom was like, well, it's not that far. And I know you really like those black uniforms because it's something about all black uniforms. That's just it makes you look faster. You look sweet in it. It's just a whole different thing. And I was like, yeah, man, yeah, so almost could have been a buff, but then go big red is what it is.
Didn't the Huskers recently have all black jerseys or all black uniforms recently?
They tried
with the red stripe
like
down.
that.
Yeah,
Now, look, I've tweeted it out a lot for many years now, and it seems like nobody is listening, but maybe at some point somebody will see or hear this. I have been calling for an all black uniform. I'm talking black pants, no stripes, black jerseys, white numbers, black helmets, maybe a white or red stripe down the middle, get rid of the N on the side and put the black shirt logo on the helmet.
That would be so cool. I'm a purist.
Have you not seen Florida State's all black unis? Those look sick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Come on, Adidas.
Yeah, it's we're living in the visual age now.
Yes.
And people have to understand that is a draw to kids. There are so many things that kids have to draw on these days, which attracts them to schools, that you have to start doing it and dealing with it. I mean, one of the biggest draws of Oregon is, outside of the Jordan brand and Nike, uniforms.
The unis. They
have about 30 or 40 uniforms.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fast. Kids are fashionable in what they want to wear these days as far as the school. And that draws a lot of kids to the University of Oregon. When Oregon was recruiting me, they were the yellow and green. Yeah, they were yellow and green.
Did you get recruited by Bellotti?
I forgot his name. It was the head coach, but they had a small gentleman, Andy, who we spoke all the time. He's one of the recruiters. But I spoke to a lot of them. One of my closest friends. I told you, put Oregon on the map. Oregon is on the map and went to that Rose Bowl because one of my childhood friends, I've said it before, Kenny Wheaton got the pick against Washington and took them to I think they have a statue of Kenny at Oregon because of that. And I'm not joking.
Always see he picks it
That's
off
the clip
inside the red zone, takes it back, and it won the game.
Kenny Wheaton's going to score. That's going to score. Yep.
That's crazy. I didn't even know who Oregon was in 94.
To that. Yep. Kenny stayed 3 streets away from me.
That's crazy. Small world.
Childhood friends. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So they were really trying to get me with him there. Yep.
I remember that 94, Oregon had to play Penn State in the Rose Bowl.
Because they beat Washington. Mm-hmm.
I asked my dad, I go, who the hell is Oregon?
Mm-hmm.
I was like 12 or 13. 12. I was 12 years old. So yeah, I was like, I didn't even know Oregon had a football team, and I wasn't real good at geography either. So I may not have known where Oregon really was at the time.
Somewhere on the coast.
Yeah. See, I was horrible back. I'm still,
but it just wasn't a program you thought of. It just wasn't a program you thought of. Mm-mm.
And I heard they were the Ducks. I was like, who the hell names their team the Ducks?
Mm-hmm.
Was it Keely Smith, the quarterback, those years? I believe so.
No, this when they were recruiting me, Dan, they were nobody.
Okay.
Keely Smith wasn't there. They were perennially 5 and something, 4 and something.
Damn.
They were Oregon. They were like an afterthought. And after that is when they started after that pick in that Rose Bowl is when they started getting players in, literally, and starting in better. Yeah. So that literally put them on the map. All I knew Oregon had at the time, outside of my boy, was Alex Moulton, and their other famous alumni was Ahmad Rashad that I had no basketball
name too.
football wise.
And see, you could say the same thing about Boise State. I mean, you didn't know about them till that special year they had with Zabransky and those guys, and beating Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl, the Statue of Liberty play on the 2-point to win it. I mean, and since then, Boise State has been a household name. If you know
only
college
takes something
football,
like
you know
that.
Boise State.
Yep. It
It's
only
crazy.
takes plays like that.
The Smurf turf, man. That's what they were known for before then, is just the team with the Smurf turf.
The blue turf.
Dude, the Smurf turf, man. There are other teams that I've seen an all red field. I've seen a gray field that
I think the red field is something in Washington, Eastern Washington.
Is that the Red
Washington,
Hawks or something?
It's somebody with the red field. I think it's up in Washington. Yeah, with the red field.
There's one that has like an all gray field, like it almost hurts your eyes.
Yeah,
I don't know. Some teams have gone too far.
We need to go back to the carpet turf.
Oh God, no. Man, that's something I don't ever miss playing on is AstroTurf. No. You might as well play in the street.
Yeah.
Woo. That was rough.
KC had it, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah, it's something.
All right. Well, you know what? Like I said, I put that clip in the beginning, so it cursed already. So shit, let's get into this. Yeah, it wasn't great. 36-14. Look, offensively, I know there's a lot of fans calling for Rule and company's head already, but relax, because we've seen the product works. The product does work. There is just one major missing piece, and that would be at quarterback. I'm not going to call any one of the three out personally. So it's just right now it's all around. We have a quarterback emergency, and it's red alert. It's not good. It's DEFCON 5. This is horrible. Yesterday was very, very bad for Jeff. 9 of 15, 106 yards through the air, 1 pick, 10 carries, 67 yards, bulk of that coming off that 57-yarder or 54 it might have been. And the stats only credited him for 2 lost fumbles on the botched snaps. I'm giving him credit for 3 because the one they're crediting to Gabe Irvin, that's not right. That was not on him. You go back and look at it. That was on Sims as well. Yeah, I played quarterback in high school. It's a very fundamental thing. I know, 5'6" playing quarterback in high school. What the hell? That's a talent pool in Fremont. But anyway, it's fundamental. You reach out and you shove that ball into the basket. Gabe had a perfect pocket open for him, everything, and he was nonchalantly just arm to the side instead of shoving that thing into the pocket. So I'm crediting that other fumble. I don't care what anybody says. So that one's on Jeff. It was a horrible day. Kenny, holy Christ, what more could be said? On Twitter.
Man, I mean, it was a good game to watch until the turnovers started to occur. You literally said, "Oh, the defense has been well. They're holding them in front of them. They're not letting them get deep, and we're stopping them. And we were getting after the quarterback." So I was sitting there thinking, personally, it's a matter of time before it happens. Something's going to happen, which goes back. You guys have heard me say on the other podcast, when is it going to happen? Because after game 1, I was wondering, when is it going to happen? And when the first turnover happened, I'm like, he was looking up too fast. And my thought was, just fall on the ball. Sometimes don't try to pick it up to make the play. You fall on it. from the quarterback position. Just like a running back, don't try to bobble it as a DB. You know, in a loose spot. Sometimes you just have to fall on it. So when that happened, I said, okay. Then if I'm correct, they got the field goal.
Mhm.
And then we go to interception. I'm like, you have to be kidding me. And then we get the run out of bounds to stop the clock. I'm like, what's going on? And then the other fumble, and then the one with the exchange with the running back, like you said, it just seemed you saw that, especially when they showed the play in slow motion, you saw that turnover was going to happen. To me personally, it looks like the mesh between the quarterbacks and running back when we're doing these plays is too big. It's like the handoffs are taking too much time in the fakes, too much ground to be gained running back to ride them with the RPO offense to get them the ball. And that was almost like an extension, but you still have to make sure it's secure before you pull your hands away from it. So, I mean, that first half was excellent until the landslide. And then coming in the second half, I was wondering, okay, are they going to sit him down for the first series and let him regroup and think and see what's going on? The typical stuff they do in sports. But just kind of look and see what's going on and run some plays to see what works and say, okay, this is what I need you to look at when you go back in there. But they didn't. So, at that point, I was like, okay, I know where this is going.
He broke
I
that
knew where
big
it's going. Yeah. And when
Yeah.
he came back and we broke the run, you said, okay, all
Yeah.
right. But then you still said,
What's next?
is that what we're going to have to do to win? But if we're going to be outside of that big type of play, we're going to have our defense on the field too long.
Yep.
We're going to have our
And
defense on the field too long.
that's an interesting one that you bring up, Kenny. And I'll talk about that after a bit when we talk about the defense. Time of possession actually was pretty equal. They had it maybe a minute longer. They had it 30 and some change. We had it 29 and some change.
Yep.
But the thing is, they got put in bad situations, bad
Mhm.
spots on the field. They get out, get a couple minutes of a breather, and then be back out there again. So, yeah, time of possession was about equal, but it just seemed like they were constantly out there. But yeah.
Mhm.
Now, Dan, looking at Jeff Sims, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think the snaps were looking bad. There might have been one or two that were a tad bit toward the knees, maybe, but nothing horrible. So I don't think we're looking at an offensive line issue here with this game. I mean, granted, they a few plays they didn't quite get push on some run plays, which we
Mhm.
expected we would. Pass pro kind of broke down on the outside, and it seems like it's that left side again.
Mm.
But I don't think this was an offensive line issue. It what do you see? What can be fixed here? Does the offensive line need to just look at him in the huddle and be like, "Get your head out of your ass"?
It might be that. Man, it was just the problems with the fumbles. To be honest, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We're walking on the field, cocking the gun, and shooting ourselves in the foot. And it just so happens that it's Jeff Sims, like Kenny said. When's it going to happen? And we expected that after the first game, after the turnovers we had and the problems we had. But I thought I was pretty happy with the offensive line play. I was watching it. Maybe we can get some more push and more nastiness up front. I always preach that because Teneper, rammed it down our throats back in the days. But when you're going up against Colorado, we should be racking up rushing yards like crazy.
Yeah.
And then I was really happy they called one play and it looked really familiar. They did run an option and it looked beautiful. And I'm texting everybody. I go, "Did you see the option? Did you see the option?" Because I was excited. I was like, they ran it perfectly. I was like, why aren't we going back to that? Let's just run the option a little bit, spread out the D so that we can run up the middle in between the tackles. But like I said, it's the lost chances and the fumbles, to be honest, the turnovers. That's it.
Well, now, in your opinion, Dan, do you think we've maybe are we a little short on the talent and depth to be an option team to make it simple for Sims the rest of the season, though?
Probably. I don't know how sometimes, depending on how they're coached, getting up the field and getting after those DBs is a whole different mindset. And,
Finotti's still the offensive line coach. So, I mean, It has been improvement from last year. It definitely has.
Yeah. I think
So-
the right tackle is it Benhart? I think he's improved a lot.
Benhart has improved.
He's such a big guy. He's huge. I was on the field last year and he made me feel small. I'm like, this guy should be eating dudes' lunches every day. This guy,
Yeah.
First of all, he's so big, he should be on the left-hand side. Like that, he should be playing that left tackle on the pass protection side. But I looked, I was like, man, this guy's massive. But he's kind of kind-hearted and like, I don't know. It's
well, he had his issues last year.
Tennifer had two things. He would go, stop pillow fighting and titty bumping. That's what he would tell us. And then we would always try to like make a lot of contact and get after it. Sometimes I feel like those guys just start doing it, you know. But I think they've improved since last year.
Yeah, it looks to me like they have, honestly. It because look, we heard about it all week long. We saw what TCU did against Colorado's defense as far as running the ball pretty much, at will. And the only time that TCU couldn't move the ball is when they decided to throw or had to throw. So we figured all week long, the way our offensive line looked against Minnesota, getting very good push, the way our running backs were looking, Ramir and Gabe Irvin, we thought, we could possibly just run it down their throats and call it a day and get out of there with a win. And I was one of them. Now, like I said, I will never, ever in my life give Colorado credit for a damn thing. I'll blame everything else in the universe before ever giving them credit for anything. So what I'm going to say is there's just some plays where the offensive line couldn't get a push. Maybe they just, said, shit, we're tired. And that is what it is.
They weren't on the field long enough to be tired.
Look, long story short, we just didn't run the ball like we all thought we would. I'll leave it at that. So, I mean, Irvin, and we've said all week long, Irvin needed to be fed like crazy. He ends the day 17 carries, 74 yards. Last week, he only had 7 carries. He had over that in the first half alone. So, I mean, he did get the ball more often. Now, you didn't see any Anthony Grant, which deservingly so, I believe, after that costly fumble last week against Minnesota.
Now, I got something to say about that.
I bet. I know where this is going.
Here's my take on that. This guy fumbles once, and you don't see him, and you bench him. But we have a person being a turnover machine, and you don't bench him. Make that make sense to me.
He's invested into that kid.
Unfortunately,
that kid has been invested into. Sims has been invested into by rule. I'm going to say it. Why? Because I think we're in the game if we have Casey Thompson, and we have a bigger chance to win. Just me personally. I'm going to say it. He's invested in him.
And I totally agree with that. And here's what's funny and what I found ironic about that, and that's why I post that. Because I don't miss anything on Twitter. I might not respond, but I see everything.
I saw you going off, but I was like,
I watched people talk about, oh, we wouldn't have been this, we wouldn't have been that with Thompson. This isn't a crap on the young guy, but I saw people diminish what Thompson was to the offense last year. And my rebuttal to that is, did you guys see what our offense looked like when Casey Thompson was hurt and out of the game last year and missed those games? Did you see Trey Palmer's numbers with Casey Thompson and the other receivers' numbers when we were out of those games?
Yeah.
Did you see the difference between him playing and him not playing? And also, lastly, at any time, did you think when he was playing, when is it coming? When is that mistake coming?
No, he actually gave me the hope. There was more of a
felt
hope.
better.
I was like, okay, we got this.
Right. And I'm saying all this because, like I said, I see and I read everything and I'm like, that's obnoxious. That's just ridiculous. That's crazy. We have to stop blaming. It's been years, ladies and gentlemen. Stop blaming everything on the refs. They're not calling this. They're not doing that. They're not doing this. It sounds like it's woe the world against Nebraska. That's not it. We're not performing. Admit it, accept it, and take it in.
What was the rule when we were there? You don't let
No excuses.
No excuses, and the refs don't win the game for you. That was the rule.
Right. So every game is going to have missed calls. We get that. You're going to miss stuff. But it's not biased. Right. It's not biased against us. So don't diminish, and this is where I get infuriated. Don't diminish what the other team did to us. Now, we shot ourselves in the foot. We pulled a Plexico. I mean, we've shot our own.
We emptied the barrel, dude.
Yeah, we've done it. We did it. But the point is, we need to stop and hold ourselves accountable for the decisions and the play that the players are doing. I mean, we are 2-0 without those mistakes. We are literally 2-0 easily without those mistakes, with momentum.
Yeah.
Because I think if we didn't have that landslide at the end of the second quarter, we win that game.
Yeah.
The defense is off the field. They're refreshed. If you notice, their big touchdowns were long drives. And at that time, we didn't get pressure on Shador, and, the guys were open. You can't expect DBs to hold on that long.
No.
You got to get to them, even though we did a damn good job of getting to them. But, you can't expect that much pressure on all the guys. Just like you can't expect the offensive line to hold forever if the receivers aren't getting open. That pocket is going to collapse. It's football. That's the game. It's just, like I said, I see it and I hear that stuff, and I'm like, I'm over it. Stop saying that. Stop making excuses. We're doing it to ourselves. We've been doing it to ourselves for the last few years, and it is infuriating to a lot of us who sit and watch it, and especially the former players, because we're like, it's rinse, wash, repeat. No more excuses. None. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm going to start calling the people out on Twitter. It's bull crap. It's an excuse. Enough.
Yeah. I agree with that. What we have, and the key indicators for me for a successful Nebraska team or any team is that defense with a nasty offensive line and makers on offense. I know that works for everybody in every school, but when you have that top tier defense handling business, but when the offense comes down there and just jams it down the throat, then you just have no time to take a break and get anything under control, because defense is smacking you around. You don't want to go back on the field. And then the offense is coming around, smashing it down the throat. Those are the indicators that we're a successful team. But if we don't have a quarterback that's holding on to the ball and we're making too many mistakes, mistake-free football is what we look for. We can't be perfect, but we can be damn close.
Minimize it.
Yeah. And then, those are the things. So those are the indicators that make a good Nebraska team. And just it hasn't been around for a while. You'll see pieces of it show up, but they're not all there. And like I said, it's the same thing for all schools. It's just we need it ourselves again.
Yeah, that's everything you said, Dan, is football 101. That's one of the things Coach Osborne would point out, and all the coaches, because you had pretty much all the coaches outside of Coach Osborne that I had, every single one of them, that he would point out in films. And this is what people need to understand. He would literally sit there with the red marker, pointing at the screen, pointing at these teams, these programs you see now winning, and he would say, that's not only is it coaching, but it's the mistakes. It's the mistakes. They have the players. Too many mistakes are costing these guys games. Look at older Nebraska. We had very minimal mistakes, holding, turnovers, etc. That was one of the things we practiced on. That was one of the things us as players took pride in not doing. The jumping, the false start, the holding, the PIs on all sides of the ball. And when you're not doing those, you have a recipe for a horrible football team.
Yep. Yeah.
And we've seen horrible football over the last couple of years.
How many turnovers was it the last 2 games? Are we at 6 now?
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Something like that.
What do you have? The first one he had 4.
And 3 this one. But I think turnovers altogether, I think we have like 7 or 8.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. And nothing against Jeff Sims. We just have a running back playing quarterback.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
I think he's a great athlete, and as you can see, he's broken off some great runs, and he can get away. But if you look at some of the other past quarterbacks, they weren't turning over the ball like that.
No.
You know?
Like I said, I don't want to publicly bash any one player at all because honestly, sorry, what's behind him didn't look all that promising either. And you know what? As far as publicly bashing anybody, though, I haven't been silent about Purdy. No. When he goes in there, I don't know if anybody ever uses that meme anymore from The Office where Steve Carell just starts yelling, "No, please, God, no." That's exactly what I'm saying. Every time he goes in there, is no. He's not his brother at all, not even remotely close. He should not be playing this level of college football.
There was a swag to our quarterbacks back in the days.
That's been gone.
I had Crouch, Newcomb, and Lord,
Man.
And they all had this cockiness about them that they were going to win games. Like we were playing against Kansas, and we line up with Crouch, and he points to the linebacker. He goes, "We're running right here," and I'm like, "We're running right here." So not only does it play a head game with that linebacker, it played a head game with me, knowing that I had to get my guy out of the way to score that touchdown. Jamal too. Any mistake we made, if I jumped, Jamal was down my throat. He was on me. Like he would even get on me after games. He's like, "What made you do that?" And I go, "You know what? My bad." So there's a sense of accountability there that the quarterback, you're the leader of our team. You're the leader of our offense. You have to suck it up, say I'm not going to do it anymore. But if you see other things, call it out too. They would call us out on those stupid mistakes. I'm sure your quarterbacks did too, Kenny. I'm sure you guys did.
Yeah, and that's where you have to humble yourself as a player.
Yes,
that's where you have to humble yourself as a player. Yep. I mean, as long as it's done respectfully, you suck it up. I did it. Yeah, I need to fix that. You apologize for it, and you handle your business. I don't see anyone going over to the young man and saying, "Hey, man," and I tweeted that. Sometime you saw a tweet. If y'all look, I said somebody need to go over there and tell him, "Stop effing up, dude."
Yeah,
you know, hey, bro, what are you doing?
This is not.
Why would you run out of why would you run? Why would you run out of bounds on that play? What are you doing?
Fundamental.
We need you to minimize that, especially if it's somebody on the defense. Hey, bro, you're killing us. You're putting us in bad position doing what you're doing and expecting us to hold. We need you to fix that. And I hate to sound like we're all saying we're beating up on him, but bro, this is on you. I mean, it's a team game, but these are costly. It was the same thing when unfortunately when Adrian would have his moments.
Yeah,
bro, that's costly what you just did.
Yep.
What it almost needs to say, what's processing? What are you processing? You need to know situations in football. You've been taught this from a kid. It's this amount of time left. We're going in between here. We got this amount of time. You know not to run out of bounds at that time.
Yeah.
Didn't we get a penalty for delay game too?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a quarterback problem.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
And I saw one, I don't know what was it before. And to me, just the urgency. Did you guys see? I think we wasted about 17, maybe 20 seconds at the end of the third quarter.
I think I
going into the fourth.
Oh, yeah.
We just let the clock run out. I was like, oh, we're not going to get a playoff before the the third quarter. Now, is that a coaching thing? Now, that's a coaching thing. Get up there and run the play.
If I'm
what are you doing?
If I'm playing the NCAA football game, I'm getting a play in before the quarter.
We're
ball right now.
Yeah, I literally didn't understand that, man. And like it goes like Dan said, he's invested.
Yeah,
invested. And it's we should be not doing that. We're 2-0 without those, and it hurts and it's frustrating because we all know it.
Yeah,
we all know it. Minnesota wasn't better than us.
No,
not at all.
But the scoreboard says it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Colorado isn't better than us, but the scoreboard says it.
Yeah.
So it's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
And see, I would assume you guys have both seen the football movie, The Replacements with Keanu Reeves.
Old school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it's a perfect analogy. I would love to know whoever wrote this line in the script or if this was ad-libbed or whatever. But it's a perfect analogy for Sims yesterday. And it's he was playing in quicksand. That's literally what he was doing. It's like being in quicksand. One thing goes wrong, and then another, and then another, and then another. Before you know it, you're in over your head.
Yep.
You can't get out. That's when you need to pull a player. You have to know that is something I will put on Rule. I was flabbergasted that he started him in the second half. And after we saw what followed behind Sims, yeah, okay, I kind of get it. Because look, we wouldn't even have had 7 points to start in that second half if not for Sims. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So
it could have got worse if he didn't score.
Very much so. So, yeah, I don't want to bag on him anymore. It's just that I thought of that quote last night, and it fits so well. That's when you need to pull a young man and let him just get out of his own head, because at that point, that's where he was.
When you invest in something and you buy it at the bottom, you hope it goes up, right? So there's probably a little bit of hope in there, like he's got to do something for us eventually. And that's what I'm saying. He's totally invested to it. Like either way, either if the wheels fall off or he rises to the top and into his position. You can see the stress of Husker Nation on Coach Rule yesterday.
Already.
I was like, oh, now he's feeling it.
Yeah, didn't take long.
No, it was
2 games.
Yeah, now it's there's no more talk.
Over.
Yeah, there's no more talk
over. Yeah.
Right? We were, there's this hype that builds up. Oh, Coach Rule. Everybody goes and looks at his past and what he's done with the schools and like, okay, he can do this. The stress of Husker Nation is on that man's shoulders now, and he understands it completely. The demands of Nebraska football are hard on a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And with social media now, it makes it even worse.
Way worse. Yeah, we were hoping, Rule would start his era the way Dick Nose Dion is done in Colorado. Sorry, I wouldn't even call him that if he wasn't coaching there. So sorry.
Nobody thought that was going to happen. Nobody thought you can bring 54 players in and catch wins like that.
I think he brought in like 80.
80. So this is where
80?
Yeah, this is where, like I said, when I watch stuff, let me flip my screen. When I watch it, because of the light, when I watch stuff and I see what everyone tweeted. After our first game and after their TCU victory, what I watched was everyone do everything in their power to minimize what TCU is and was. Oh, he lost this amount of players. Oh, he's starting with this amount. It's this on defense and players and TCU. I'm sure majority of TCU players, probably 80 to 90% of them, are guys that have been in that program for a couple of years. Those are the same players who've been in that system.
Yeah.
Okay. The gentleman went in there with 85. Like, I'm Coach Prime outside of Nebraska. Hate that he went to Colorado. It's one of those things where, like, your favorite basketball player goes to the team you dislike the most. Where you're like, oh my God, why did he go to the Lakers? Or why did he go to the Spurs? Or why did he go
to the Lakers?
Yeah, it's just a sick feeling.
Yeah.
So I sat there and said, we've made all these excuses. I'm watching people make all these excuses for what they weren't, but not saying with what he brought in. I tweeted when he got the job. I don't think people are really taking into account the big picture. When he got the job, I said, kids are going to run to him. I wasn't saying it just to be saying it. I'm saying it because of the impact and who he is.
Yeah.
Kids that we would hope look at Nebraska are looking at Colorado now.
Yeah.
Because it's Deion Sanders. He's been a winner.
Yeah.
He's been a coach. What he brings are people looking at the economic impact he's having on Colorado right now? If you want to see what the economic impact is, look at what it did to Jackson State.
Yeah.
They got a whole new facility, all kinds of stuff because of him. I think it went up like $50, $60 million. Do you know what that's going to do to Boulder, Colorado? So you know kids are seeing this, and they're going to want to go there. So give the man, I say, credit for what he brought in, because he's coaching a whole new team too. So stop the excuses. we were what he has. I like I said, I'm Coach Prime outside of Nebraska. I was like, hell no, I don't want to see him beat up. What was that?
Mhm.
But guys, don't dismiss the man and discredit him for what he's doing. He's taking advantage of what the system has now. There was a reason Nick Saban and all those guys make those comments, because they know if he was at a Florida State, a Miami, and all these other schools like that, their asses would be in trouble because they wouldn't get those kids. Only reason he didn't get a lot of them at Jackson State is because it's Jackson State and it wasn't primetime TV. That's the only reason. So that's why all the vitriol and hate came from them when he got that. Oh, I don't like what he's doing, because they know. And that's why Deion said specifically, well, what's wrong with Travis Hunter coming to the HBCU? Remember, Florida State was mad at him. And I told somebody when they said that, I said, you do know there was a time where we couldn't go to those schools that are mad that he's there and those kids are going to Jackson State.
Mm-hmm.
So give them credit for what they are. And the only thing I told them is depth. I said, once they get depth, it's going to be a problem. There's certain schools that once they have a coach in place and they're winning, there's a problem.
Yep.
Him as a coach is going to be a problem. USC, when they're winning, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because kids are going to say, Southern California? Oh, yeah. Winning? SC? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's going to draw those kids, people. So just give credit what credit is due. He had a whole new team just like TCU. He's got a whole new team just like Coach Rue has a whole new team that he's coaching for the first year. And he brought in, I think it's 85 guys, 10 kids, scholarship kids from last year's team on that roster.
Remember how they were trashing him for getting rid of it? But the crazy thing is, like, as Husker fans, we always have the wait and see attitude. We understand that coach transitions. All right, we have to wait for 5 years. And Deion came in, like I said, he's an anomaly. He brings in a whole different group of people, and he changes the landscape of how we see turnaround, right?
Right.
So what are they? They've already won 2 times more games than they did last year. I mean, it's already a win for these guys.
Yeah.
But he's changed the landscape to thinking it's like, we should be able to turn around in a year. These are the types of things. If he can do it with his ragtag crew, I'm not saying they're bad, I'm saying then we should be able, when we have these kids already in place, there should be, I don't know. It just made me look at it differently now. Like, I don't want to wait anymore. I'm kind of tired of waiting for Nebraska to get a trophy, and to get a win and maybe get a ring. What's the last kids that got rings?
Because it's the same song and dance that we're just wait and see, just wait and see.
I'm tired.
Right.
Kenny, you guys got the last ring.
No, I had the last Big 12.
97?
Yeah. You guys had the last
championship. I think Dan, when y'all got it.
Conference title 99.
Yeah, 99 we went. That year we had a lot of fumbles though. But the key indicator for Nebraska, that defense was sick. That defense was amazing. Steve Warren, Carlos Polk, all those guys, both the Browns, Ralph and Mike, Booker at safety, and a couple other guys. Dude,
that was Keo, EJ, Tony, Julio. That was all those guys.
EJ taught so much as a young offensive lineman. The one thing about you guys that came through is that you taught us how to keep the standard somewhere, and it might be in the firing, but somewhere the standard was lost because although you're on scout team and you're a scout and you're looked on trash. Now, by the way, we never wore an N on scout team. So we never had the privilege on the scout teams to have those N's on our helmets. EJ taught me a lot because he was the linebacker on my side as a right tackle. So he was the left outside linebacker. Athletic, fast, nasty, all those guys. There was a standard that those defensive players passed down to the offensive players and vice versa. And it just got lost somewhere. And it's been lost for a long time. We need to be digging that thing back up and looking at the notes like, oh yeah, that's how we should be playing,
Yep.
But there's a lot of things to look at for Nebraska. No.
Yeah.
Do we demand more? Do we say, hey, you only get 1 year, you're fired. Next coach. I mean, what are we waiting for?
No, what I think, honestly, and this is just my opinion, because I know we talked about it. We touched on it last week with Ken on here. There's so many divides in the fan base. It's. I look at it almost as like it's politics.
Oh yeah,
you have the extreme right and the extreme left, but realistically, everybody's in the middle, and you just might like a little something on this side more, but you don't agree with everything. But that's why you kind of vote that way on either side. I think what happens, and I think what people need to understand, we need to hold more accountability. This is my take on it. Too many of us, especially former players, sit back and don't say what we really want to say because for some reason they think we're haters and we get backlash when we go when we say how we really feel.
I've seen it.
Why would you call any former player a hater when what we went through for that school? We're the number one. This is, like I said before in our podcast last year. Remember when I went off, Brian? I said,
wait, wasn't I there for that one?
I don't know. It was the last one when I ran it. I said, we want to see it more successful than anyone else. And I think with us speaking out more, saying that's unacceptable, and quit the talking around it to appease people, and just say that's called bullshit when we see it. And I hate to say that. I try not to cuss that much, but call it out when we see it. It might light a fire under people to understand. I'm not saying calling for coaches is it. I'm saying telling the truth. When I spoke the truth about, hey, this is some bullshit. You guys sitting up here making it seem like being close in these games is cool. I don't know what Nebraska football you're used to.
That's not my standard.
Being close enough isn't acceptable. Oh, but we were almost there. Remember when I went on that rant? I think it's still on Twitter. I said that's not acceptable.
No.
Almost there isn't good enough. Oh, you just lost by this point. I said, no, that's not a standard. Because everybody was like going into next year because they know blah, blah, blah. And what was last year?
Trash.
It was the year before last year.
Shit.
So no, it's not acceptable. You're teaching, you're saying promoting being close enough is good enough. That's not true.
Mediocrity.
Yeah, and we all need to start speaking up like, nah, that's not it, bro. Y'all need to do better. Because trust me, when we got goose egged at Arizona State, hey, bro, the phone calls I got, what happened from former Cats? Or my senior year when we went 9-4 and we thought we were the worst team on earth, but we barely lost those games. Hey, bro, what's going on?
Yeah,
the call I got from former players, Ken, what? Do you know how many people I cussed out with that Colorado game up in Denver when they hung 60?
That was my game. I was just arguing. I was just on the call. I was texting my boys Carson and Cody, and I literally said, "I tried my best. That wasn't my fault." And they were like, "Yeah, it was all defense."
Do you know how many of them I called and cussed out? Hey, man,
I got messages.
What's going on?
Oh, man,
I went ballistic.
Yeah, the standard.
I mean,
is gone.
Yeah. Yep. What's this, bro? I mean, man, I'm sorry. Do you know what Carlos Polk said to me when he saw me one time at the Alamo Bowl? I'm sorry. So what does that tell you? He said, I'm sorry. This is when they were playing when I was playing in the Alamo Bowl. 2000. The year Dominic was getting ready to go to the go pro. Because I was chopping it up with him. So was that 2000, 2001 before?
We played Northwestern.
Yeah, no, it was because I was chopping up with Dominic. I was like, you leaving? He was like, yeah, big bro, I'm out. I was like, cool. But yeah, Carlos was like, Cheetos, I'm sorry. Because it's a standard. And there's expectations. And we don't have those. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the fans have accepted mediocrity.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, no, there's a standard. You can be supportive and still have a standard. You can. Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear.
You think? Yeah.
Nobody wants to
hear. Ohio State? Yeah. You think Ohio State want to hear 75? 4 and something? 5 and something? Oh, yeah. No, that's not okay.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Dan. I just had to get that out, bro.
Phono T was on when we went 7-7. He goes, "What happened, y'all?" I go, "I don't know, man. But we got to get it back on course." Because it's this standard that we set for each other, even though he's gone, he went pro, he's still texting me like, "What happened to you guys?" And I go, "Not next year." So we went what 10-2 next year?
Yep.
Right back on it. It's not the man. Give me Jeff Sims' phone number right now. But the thing is, like, let's say we do get on these guys and we do find a way to get in these kids' heads and stuff. It's going to get posted on social media. These kids will cry about it. They'll whine about like, "Oh, Kenny was calling us out for being trash DBs and not covering the slant right." Well, Dan said you got no pancakes that game. Oh, you guys are trash. There's standards, right?
There's a
difference. It hurt when past players would call you up and stuff like that. It hurt.
Hurt your pride.
Yeah.
Hurt your pride.
It humbles you big time.
Yeah. Because what are you going to say?
Kenny, your position, man, look, Billy Kemp averaged a little over 10 yards a catch, 5 for 57, and Nate Borkacher, which, for the love of God, can any announcer get that poor young man's last name correct? Because I have heard it butchered so bad. It's Borkacher. It's easy.
Yeah, if you look at it, you see, Borkacher.
Borkacher. Easy. It rolls right off the tongue, but yet Gus Johnson and those guys, they couldn't get it.
Unless you want to roll the R, it's Borkacher.
Yeah. Borkacher. Yeah, I like that. Almost Italian, a little bit Italian.
Yeah, the receivers, man. I want to see the tight ends used more often in the middle of the field. Go to them a little bit more. But it's hard, fellas, because
finally had some drops.
Yeah, but it's hard because the QB play is so inconsistent.
Yes.
It's hard. So can we really look at what they're able to do? As far as, are they able to get the ball or passes? You know what I mean? It's really hard because we see him run first, which Matt Rule said he was going to do. Coach Rule said he was going to do. Yeah. But I just don't know if our passing game can be consistent enough for them to have big games. But they need to realize how much that'll open the field for the running game, which I'm sure they do. Dan, you got it, brother.
Because Nate only had 2 for 33, so averaged a little over 16 a catch. So, I mean, 2 leading receivers, Dan, fit both under 60 yards apiece.
I am the worst.
Shit.
I mean, you run the ball and then get open and then don't get turnovers. They boot him out and he throws off his back foot, and it just, every time he throws off his back foot, I'm like, "Oh man, please no!" And then he gets picked off because the DB undercut it or the linebacker. I'm like, "No!" And
too late on the throw.
That too, yeah. Just run it, just run it, do something. I don't know. It's hard to look at those stats,
It sucks too, because we've got talent at receiver. Billy Kemp's a hell of a talent. Borkacher, he's come on. He was coming on last year, and Marcus Washington. I mean, I think he might have had 1 catch yesterday at Colorado. That's not good. Now, Fedoni had a catch as well, but like I said, there was some drops. Fedoni had a crucial drop. Bullock had a crucial drop. Both would have been first downs, would have kept the drive going. You can't have those things. And the inconsistency in the QB play, it's hard to know what the hell anybody was looking at in that game. So I guess screw it. I mean, there you go. There you have it. There's the damn offense. There's the shit we didn't want to talk about. Now, the bright spot, I guess, the black shirts.
Yeah.
Look, for 2.5, maybe a full 3 quarters even, I'll give them a whole third quarter even. We still could have had a chance. It's just, damn, they kind of got worn down. Now,
fatigue.
I
felt sorry for them.
Recorded 8 sacks yesterday. I tweeted out 7. I thought it was only 7, so I missed one. And held Colorado 58 yards rushing. Now, granted, I'm sure a lot of that has to do with the sacks being added into negative yardage toward rushing. but we really did shut down their running game. And you've got to admit, the secondary, they locked down so well, which accounted for at least 3 of those sacks.
They did a great job.
Yeah. Them boys played their ass off, man.
Yeah. I mean, Dan, let's go with you first, dude. What did you see out of even because a 3-3-5 scares the shit out of me. It still does.
What was that kid's name? He's number 11. He played for in place of the other.
That would be Lenhart.
Wow.
I believe I've got that clip for you right here. I believe this is his set. There he is. Yeah. Yeah. He even made a play where it was he barely got one arm on Sanders and didn't let go and got a sack.
Yeah. I really like that kid's play, and he needs to play more. He was only playing in place of what's his name is getting away from me. Number 9.
Ty Robinson.
Yeah, Ty Robinson. So I think his play was great. Overall, I think the defense did well, and like I said, you can't leave the defense on the field hanging out all day. They're not meant to be there all day and drive after drive. And also in bad situations, if you put your defense, if the offense gets a 1st and 10 on the 25 heading in, that's hard for the defense. They just got off the field in the first place, and you're turning over. I think overall they're the shining light of the team right now. I think they did a great job holding Sanders back and all that. It could have been worse according to how we saw last week against TCU. Am I muted on that?
Man, yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
They're getting after it.
That secondary it helped them.
Yeah.
For anybody that's just listening and not watching, maybe you should start watching. Subscribe to us on YouTube. There's actual clips and shit in here that you might enjoy. So.
I think they played well. I was very surprised in the beginning, and the mistakes happened in the second quarter. They scored 13, but that was all on the offensive mistakes, and they held them to 10 at the third quarter. Then it started landsliding, but we also scored in the third quarter. I mean, if we look at those stats, if we would just score when we were supposed to score, like Kenny said, that's a W for us. We walk out, there is no more prime time anymore. Everybody's in the world shocked, and Nebraska gets ranked 25. I don't know. Yeah. It's those things. We correct those mistakes, and we don't give Colorado the game. We actually have an even better game where there's we don't know who's going to win. But like Kenny said earlier, we got to go back to okay, well, we're looking good, but what's going to happen soon? We're waiting for it. Mistake-free football.
And what'd you see out of the D, Kenny? You had praise for him at the beginning of the show, so I mean, you got to have something good to say.
You saw what I tweeted?
Yep.
I said I literally feel sorry for the defense. I felt sorry for those boys. I felt sorry for them for the last couple of years at times because our offense was so quick on with plays. Like I told you the one year, I think you were on that show, Dan. I think we ran a series of plays, of 3 plays, and it was in a matter of 30 seconds, and we were punting the ball. Those boys played their ass off that first half until that landslide. They weren't breaking. They weren't bending. No. They were stopping them.
Yep.
They were flat out stopping them.
They knew the
cold.
And then they got put in position with short fields.
Yeah.
Short fields to have to defend.
They even held them to 3 points on a couple of those, I think.
Yeah.
And
like I said,
points.
Go ahead, Dan.
Points, though.
It led to points. And the touchdown on that series was covered, and they were expected to hold in the secondary. The guy ran across the field, the kid from the left side, and everyone started rotating to the opposite side. And then he got behind the linebacker in the corner on that side because they were watching the guy in the flats, and then he threw it to the corner. But
that was one of the few times, Kenny, where there was no pressure on.
Yep.
There was no pressure.
He literally sat back there. He literally sat back.
He's back there way too long.
When you sit back there and have that amount of pressure, that's for going back to the DBs can't cover that long. You're going to get stuff like that to happen. You're going to get it. In fact, he had one pocket one time. I said, if he run, he can get 20 yards. It was just open.
Yeah.
So, but the defense played well. They were hitting. We had a couple breaks. Every bends. We had the one. I don't know what the corner was doing on the one throw to Travis Hunter. I think it was 31. When he let him get behind him, like he jumped on something, but there was no one on the coverage on their sideline, and he threw it over him.
Yeah.
And Travis Hunter caught it. It was like, oh, what is he doing? But outside of that, I really can't say anything other than I get it. Y'all played your ass off, nothing to hang your head slow on. I'm sure fatigue kicked in. Colorado runs a fast-paced offense. Not like they were overwhelmingly just beating you down, old Nebraska style. It was just you were on the field a lot and given not good field position, and they end up capitalizing on it. So salute to the black shirts, man. Me and Dan are offensive guys. So for us to say that takes a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that right.
Defense credit on some shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you could honestly only give one critique on our defense, it's just try to create some turnovers. That's the only thing, because we're giving them away on offense. It sucks to say this, guys, because you even score.
Pick up for the offense. Yeah.
But then you get away from the fundamentals where these kids are trying to take the ball away and miss tackles. There was an open field tackle that was embarrassing.
Yes.
That's
another thing, Dan. Great point. Open field tackling. Just tackling, period.
It was all over TikTok yesterday. And there was one guy, I forgot his name, is Coach Juju. And he's like, he pauses it. And I'm like, what's going on? And I think it's that two-way player, Hunter. Is it Hunter?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He put the moves on him, but that open field tackling was bad. So if we're looking at something, that might be the bad thing I saw all day. But overall, the defense played well. But that open field tackling was getting to me.
Yeah,
he had him too. He had him.
That second half, they did start missing some open field tackles, but all in all, the last two games, their tackling has been night and day from last year and maybe even 3-4 seasons prior to that. Yeah. So they're looking much. Hey, it's amazing what happens when you actually go full speed and tackle people and everything in practice. Look at the fundamentals that come right back. It's amazing. So, all right. Well, look, we're an hour into this. So yeah, screw it. That's enough of that game. At least from our standpoint, we'll go ahead and roll into the Husker Twitter segment. This is just where I pull random Husker fans' tweets. I try to stay away from the ultra negative ones, but after yesterday, that was hard to find. I really had to search, but I was able to do it. We'll go ahead and start with the first one. This one comes from former Husker Chancellor Brewington, who, by the way, if you haven't been watching his YouTube channel, which is brand new, he's already hit like 1,000 subscribers already. Check him out. It's awesome. He does a great breakdown of game films of past games, telling you exactly what coverages are. I mean, it's the intricate parts of the game. It's amazing. But all he had to tweet was back to work. A lot of good. I got to agree with him. There is good. There is, as I said in my tweet, we see that the product can work. There's just a missing piece. I mean, Dan, do you agree with Chancellor? I think he kind of hit it.
Yeah, I mean, what year does the Chancellor play?
I think he just graduated last year.
All right, so
or the year before.
I'm not bashing him or anything, but losses are no good. Nothing. That's just how I see it. It's just my head. That's just how I say it. That's how I see it. There's no way I would put good with that, personally. And when we
might have met the defense.
Yeah, we can look at the bright side of that, but overall, we still took that L.
Yeah, and it was Colorado.
I nothing against him because he's one of my brothers, and I see where he's coming from. Lots of good,
He's trying to be positive. He's trying to find a positive.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're always trying to be positive.
I know.
Am I not right on that, Kenny? What are your thoughts? Like, yeah.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: you think I could?
If this was a drink, we'd be toasting up on that, brother.
Yeah, if I walked into Tenneper's office after we lost to Colorado, it's like, well, we did good on offense. That dude would have murdered me.
Yeah,
he would have literally killed me. Like, what were you thinking? Okay, Dan,
What the hell? Yeah.
we're going to take your film in front of the whole team, and we're going to break that down all day. Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if when I did good things in practice in the games, Temper just skip over it. I know he did that on purpose, but I loved it.
Yeah, they all did it. They all did it. It was the same.
Like,
You like, damn, coach, we used to tell him we just hung 70 on these dudes. And you finding everything negative to talk about in here. I mean, damn, give us a break.
I ate dinner. I got 20 pancakes this game. Let's go, coach. Skip over each one. I'm like,
come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah. So, like, when he says that, it's because of the standard that's been set when he was there.
Very true.
And then me and Kenny talk about that. It's an L. Nothing good to come from it.
Bernard Thomas has said the same thing when we had him on. Yeah.
Who was that?
Bernard Thomas.
Same years. Me and him played together.
Yeah.
Bernard was like, hell no, which is true, which is what we all think. We just don't say it.
Yeah,
like, we just don't say it.
If we're going to be open with this, and that's why I asked what years did he play, because his standard's different from previous Husker standards. And so their standard is expressed more than we are because we have a different life right now, families and stuff like that. I'm not tweeting all the time. I'm not out there all the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes I see that the fans pick up on it. Oh, yeah, good. High five, loss.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That goes back to what I'm saying. We taper what we want to say and how we feel. Because that's a loss. And and I hate to say it, they can't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
None of these dudes from this losing area don't tell me nothing.
No.
You can't tell me anything. Speaking in proper English, don't tell me nothing. Don't tell me anything. I Husker brothers through and through. But I'm not hearing what you're talking about. I'm not hearing what you're talking about. I'm not hearing it.
I was confused on how that was said. No. No.
Because in my opinion, we've seen some positive stuff happen, stuff we can improve on, but it hasn't been good. No. Ain't nothing been good.
No. We've had some bright moments, but they've been just moments.
I see where he's trying to get at, though, but that gets nowhere for anybody.
Now, I'm sure I probably annoy people on Twitter with our podcast account because I try and stay as positive as possible. I'm constant, like, for one,
it'll keep you sane.
Exactly, and you will never ever have me pick us to lose. Period. I don't give a damn if we're playing Bama. I'm going to come up with every single reason and scenario why we could pull it off.
There's always
the planets could align that night or something. Who knows? That has something to do with the atmosphere. Makes the air a little thinner. Alabama doesn't breathe good in thin air. We do. I'm telling you, I'll come up with something.
That's a fan.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's me. That's me. All right. So next one we got from a fellow podcast, The Last Take, at The Last Take 22. And it is spot on. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah. And they tweeted, this is literally Nebraska versus Nebraska right now. And damn, is that the truth? Kenny, that's how it feels almost week in, week out. Almost since you started doing this regularly with me.
Where's the lie?
Nope.
So go back to the shoot yourself in the foot. And we still can't win ourselves. We can't beat ourselves.
It sucks. It's yeah. All right. That was easy. That was good for the last take because, man, it was just sweet, simple, perfect.
I love these tweet things. This is awesome. Feels like I'm
on doing this.
The Jimmy Kimmel show where you see these funny tweets.
All right. This was from Jake Jacobson at Husker Tapes. If you bench I couldn't wait, Kenny. I knew I had this on deck and I had to shut up until we got here. If you bench, he says, but if you bench a running back for fumbling, how can you stick with a QB with 6 turnovers in 1.5 games?
Just like the emoji. I mean, let this sink in. This stat. 26 games played, maybe 27. 27 interceptions.
Yeah. It was my fear. I watched his tapes from Georgia Tech. This was my biggest
Did you know that,
fear.
Dan?
No, that's very much news to me.
27 games played. I think it's 26, 27, 20. So pretty much an interception a game it equates to
At
in
least.
the other turnover. So he's number one, like Brian said earlier, leading FBS in turnovers player in the country.
Now, you could probably win games if you have the number one defense in America that's making turnovers and things like that. But that's too many mistakes. I didn't know it was that large of a number. I'd be making all the call for quarterbacks on the team. Did you play quarterback in high school? Come on.
I did.
Yeah.
Like, anything on the team, I'd be searching. Like, did you play quarterback? Come on. Come on. Yeah. Let's go. You're working out with the quarterbacks today.
I know. I would
at least put some pressure on them.
I would love to actually watch him in practice and see, like, what the hell are the coaches looking at? Because I don't know what – maybe he's too comfortable and just knows all the players on defense so well, knows their tendencies and all this. So he looks great in practice because he's comfortable.
Anybody can be an All-American in practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Maybe he just can't pick up on other players' tendencies that he doesn't see on a daily basis. It's not familiar.
What are his habits? Are you staying late watching film of the opposite team, or I don't know how they do it? Like, are you watching the opposite team? Are you majoring in football? That's what it takes in Nebraska, to be honest. I tell everybody when they say, "What'd you major in?" I said football. With a minor in psychology, because it takes your brain. It takes a lot of effort. You have everything at your disposal nowadays. Your phone, your iPad can connect to the internet in the middle of class, in the back of the classroom. Oh, what's the tendency of this defensive end when we run an option to his direction? Does he go quarterback? What about the DB's tendencies? Does he open his hips to the inside or outs? These are the things as a quarterback you should know everybody's number, his tendencies, write them down. That's how you be better. That's how you get better. So I don't know what his habits are off the field, right? So I would like to know by my senior year, when we would take the football test. Remember the football test, Kenny? Everybody's position. I go, okay, the receiver's going to come here. You fill it all in. You're the quarterback. You should know the tendency of everybody on that defense. Even when the numbers are changed out, when you see a discrepancy, when you see a chink in the armor, you should be like, nah, we're audible. 32 option this direct. Like, come on. It's not.
They know the kid coming in is a freshman.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not play football and go home anymore. There's too much data out there for you to take advantage of.
Yeah, and they have so many ways now to get that accessible to them. Aren't kids these days getting like iPads to take home and do stuff now?
Yeah, it's ridiculous the technology they get for this.
I don't know.
We had habits. Yeah, we had it when we went. Well, all we did was did it when we went to the meetings in our individual meetings. That's what we did ours, and once we were done, we pretty much went home. But you sat in there and you did it. You looked out of coverage. You look and see how the DBs and everyone's doing, what the lineman does with their pulls and twists and this and that, especially for the receivers and the wing backs for their read. To me as a receiver, how the DBs are playing, and see, okay, with this one, we got the fullback in here. We're in our I formation with the fullback and the one tight wing back and the receiver. So I know if I get him on the double read out here, fullback's pulling to catch the backer or to catch the corner because he's going to come up, and this lineman is pulling around. So he'll probably end up catching his safety coming up. That's stuff you need to know. So it could be things such as the moment at that particular play when he's making those mistakes, especially with the interceptions. The fumbles are just gaffes. The interceptions are you aware pre-snap where they're lined up? And when you drop it back, are you looking and going through progression? Now, one play I did see him go through progressions. It was beautiful. He went through everything. The guy came across the middle. He hit him. Boom.
Yes. I remember that play. That was that was like our first drive.
Earlier. And I immediately said, wow, he went through his progressions.
That's what I said. I was like, oh, shit, he got his shit together.
Yeah.
I'm like, he went through his progressions. He wasn't eyeing that receiver. But, it's just a turnover. Yeah, it's just like Nancy said, and it's just those turnovers, man. We reduce those. We should be okay. We should be okay because the defense is playing well.
Do you maybe think that he's one of those young men that I'm not saying he's soft or anything, but as soon as one thing goes wrong,
It can be in his head.
immediately he's in his own head where he's like, that's it. Another thing's going to go wrong.
Could be.
It scares me.
I'm not in that kid's head, so I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We're not psychologists.
He has the pressure of Husker Nation on him too.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know if he knew what he was signing up for coming here. I really don't. That might have been something Rule didn't quite convey all that clear to him. Maybe Rule didn't really know either.
Even talked to when Crouch left and Jamal took over as quarterback. There's a lot of pressure on him.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was
and
a
I
lot of
love
pressure.
Jamal.
Yeah.
I would love to have him on the show sometime, but I don't know if he even really enjoys talking about Husker football anymore.
It's the
What
way
happened?
It was how he was treated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on one second, B. No, go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I love Jamal, dude.
Yeah.
That man did everything he could while he was here.
Yep.
And he was the best quarterback we had while he was here.
Yeah, I think it's like that whole situation again. It's when we make mistakes in our life, when we make mistakes in our work, in our daily living, we forgive ourselves easily, right? But when something so important as Husker football, I can't. when something is so important as Husker football,
dude.
What do you say? I couldn't see it.
I said, my brother, I want to get you on the podcast. Whatever you need,
dude.
OG. That was Friday. Friday.
Tell him I'll be on. Can I be on with the call?
Sure.
You know what, Dan? You know what? Screw it, dude. Why don't you just join us the rest of the season?
Let me find out. Let me check with Maul and see when he can be on, and I'll definitely let you know.
I'll get in his mind too. But what I'm saying is, we get back to that. It's we forgive ourselves so easily the mistakes we made and kind of brush them off. But when it comes to someone like Sims, even Jamal, they're under microscopes in Nebraska because we were
glamour position.
Yeah, we were spoiled. We had Eric Crouch, Scott Frost, all those guys prior to us. So Jamal felt that heat.
Turner Gill.
Yeah, Jamal felt that heat, and that's why I always loved Jamal because he was so much stronger. His personality wouldn't let him, let them get to him. But I mean, if he wants to speak freely on those things, he can. But I love Jamal forever. He was a great quarterback to block for, and always had a good time.
Jamal is and was a great player.
Complain.
What's that?
I never heard him complain. Not
quiet
once.
Quiet dude.
Never. Oh, he complained to me a couple times, like about my play, about my
well, you screwed up then.
Yeah,
that's different. All right, we'll go to the last tweet here then.
I love this.
Who we got on the final one? Oh yeah, that's right. Kevin at GI Husker Kev. Who do we start at QB next week?
Jeff Sims. Have you seen the others?
Dude, Grand Island Husker Kev.
Dude, I'm just saying, yes, that would be Grand Island Husker Kev. And that very last one that's on that whole list right there shouldn't even be on there. Not even be a choice. That's all I'm saying. Should not be on there.
Go ahead.
So, Kenny, we'll give it to you first. I mean, it's a poll he put on Twitter, so this will be your live vote.
You have to push the button.
We only saw a brief sample of what is it? Haggy? Harburg.
Heinrich Harburg.
Oh, Harburg.
And he was the one that got the touchdown pass there at the end of the game.
Yes,
I know.
We don't know what he's done and how he'll react. So you can say him, but I think Jeff Sims and then snatch him quick the moment he does something and let him know the leash is thin and get Harburg ready as if he's going to be the starter as well.
Yep.
So that he's not surprised when he goes in. Let Sims know the leash is short. Moment you mess up, you're out. Harburg goes in. And hopefully playing Northern Illinois. I don't think that's who we're playing, if I'm correct. He should be able to work on everything he needs to work on during that game.
They lost to Southern Illinois yesterday, so
okay.
And they beat 2 weeks ago. They beat Boston College in overtime.
That's right. Now I know Louisiana Tech, they haven't looked all that great yet. So, I mean, we should get these next 2 games. Dan, who would you take in this poll, man?
Sims.
I know.
I
This
know
is
that
tough.
seems like anti.
Contradictive, right?
I don't know what Harburg has he played a full game or I don't know.
No.
You know what I do? I put Sims in the game and I just run him all day long. Let him get the confidence. He loves running the ball. Let him get the confidence. Couple play action plays. As soon as he throws a pick, then snatch him. But let that dude ride next week.
Now, see, I'm going to go with Harburg because there ain't no way in hell I'm picking the final choice in there. And I agree with you on the interception part, Dan. But my issue is watching him fumble 2 fundamental shotgun snaps bothers me. That means he royally gets into his own head. And when you're starting to get something so just fun, I hate using this word over and over, but it's fundamental. It's one of the first things you learn if you're going to be a quarterback, especially this day and age. For God's sake, man, how do you not know? When's the first time you caught a ball? Just realize your hands clamp when it gets there, not before. What are you doing? So I'm going with Harburg. So GI Husker Kev, there you go. Nobody took number 3, and I told you probably should have just left that off.
Harburg got 68% of the votes. Purdy got 15 and Sims got 17.
See?
Yeah.
I rest my case.
I'm gonna roll.
I rest my case with that third choice. I'm sorry.
But he can't go to Sims.
Damn, I don't know what to do. I mean, seriously, what would you do? Rules backed himself into a corner.
We got back to where it's back to are you gonna let you let your boy fly? Are you gonna give him a chance? Are you gonna put some pressure on him with Harburg kind of taking some more snaps with the ones? That's how you get some pressure on him, or you're gonna coach him up during this week. You need to take 100 snaps before practice and 100 snaps after practice. Blindfold that kid. And then just get him on a connection with that center. I don't know, that's what they should be doing. There's extra things need to be done now, and to fix those things. But fix it.
I like the Mr. Miyagi approach, dude.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, blindfold that kid. The center had really good snaps. If the center's on point all the time, that should be a connection between him and the center. And if we're having problems after the week, put that kid under center and run power I all week.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and call it good. Yeah, Dan, thanks, dude. I love doing that little Twitter thing. It's a fun thing to do.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I kind of feel like I've ripped off Kimmel, though. Damn it. Now I feel odd.
You don't have the player reading the tweet about him, so you'd have to get Sims on or somebody like that and see what he says.
Oh, we know damn well that ain't happening.
And let's get him on.
All right, Dan. Hey, where can everybody find you on social media, my man? You didn't put any of your handles up there.
So Instagram is Big Dan Waldrop, and then Twitter or X is, man, I don't even know anymore. Dan Social Man. I gotta change that.
Yeah, I had to message you because I was like, "Are you on Twitter?" I couldn't find you because I couldn't remember, and I was like, "Oh yeah."
It's just Twitter's more of a let's see what's going on, let's see what I can look at. But Instagram is probably where I'm most interactive. Even on TikTok is probably where I interact the most. Silverback Samoan on TikTok. I love the platform personally.
I like that. Silverback Samoan.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
All right,
man.
Kenny. I mean, that's the only handle you got right there. Where are they going to find you with it, my man?
On Twitter. I deactivated my IG for a little bit, taking a break. I normally would do my Facebook, but we're doing the podcast. So you tag me and stuff, but I do all my cleanses, my social media cleansing.
Yeah, because I remember doing that. I was like, dude, I'm trying to tag you, but I can't. I was like,
do
did
my
you unfriend me? I'm like, what happened? I felt
and I'm
hurt.
like, I do my cleanses, but I'm like, no, it's football season. I have to leave the Facebook one up. But Kenny Cheatham on Facebook and on Twitter at Husker New. So
Yeah, that's the only thing you're going to get tagged in. So don't worry. I make sure that that's the only thing. Everybody, you know where to find the show at this point on YouTube. Just look up Husker Army Podcast. You could Google it. Everything pops right up. It's actually pretty funny. I'm surprised it's that quick now. But as we've mentioned before, one of your award-winning podcasts, as well as many others from the first annual Nebraska Podcast Awards that was this year. That was put on by thank you, man. It was a surprise. We were happy, shocked. It was fun.
That's
No
awesome.
Block, No Rock put on a great show in Nebraska Brewing Company. Great event, great venue. Could have been a little cooler, but they made it cool enough that we weren't dying of heat exhaustion. So it was good. But yep, you can just Google us. And as you can see, Twitter and Instagram at Husker Army Pod. You see it as my handle there. So for myself, Brian Knutson, for our other host, Mr. Kenny Cheatham, former Husker wide receiver, and our guest today, former Husker offensive lineman, Mr. Big Dan Waldrop. Husker Army, you know what to do. At ease, and you are all dismissed.